Right, the veil has been lifted and it's another moment for the KUTV Prime Time News Bulletin on this 27th day of October. A day that has seen the likes of Penina Malonza, Aden Duale and Aisha Juma take off quite literally in the Kenya Kwanza government. Well, they dropped their nominee status to officially occupy their dockets that they were appointed for by President William Ruto. This among more that has been happening in the country in our bulletin tonight. But first, we kick off with the highlights of tonight's top stories. All systems go as President William Ruto's cabinet secretaries are sworn in. President Ruto holds third parliamentary group meeting since elections, absent senators. Family in Wetaivia, Kiambu County in tension of alleged land grabbing attempts. Welcome to the broadcast that is also streaming live on YouTube and Facebook at KUTV Kenya, and also feel free to interact with us on a Twitter handle at KUTV_Kenya. We have quite an able team that is putting 1 and 2 together. My name is Emmanuel Kutosi, and in the sign language interpretation we'll be sailing through with Moses Gitonga. The KUTV Thursday Prime Time News begins now. The Kenya Kwanza government is now all set to deliver the promises it made to the electorate as the cabinet secretaries took the oath of office today. In the colorful event presided over by the head of state, President William Ruto, he called on the members of his cabinet to work closely together to deliver the promises they made to the electorate and realize the dream of stabilizing the ailing economy. Our reporter, Senior Omondi Otieno, with the details.
In readiness to deliver the Kenya Kwanza dream, the cabinet secretaries nominated by President William Ruto today took the oath of office to help him run the government in various dockets. The 24 cabinet secretaries who were just approved by the National Assembly were sworn in the order of seniority of the dockets presided over by the head of state. The swearing in comes at a time when the country is having much expectations on the government to revive the economy and save them from the tough economic turmoil. This will therefore require the new cabinet that is taking office to work extensively with the government to help in salvaging the situation in the country as insinuated by the president.
Your celebrations will be very short-lived because I think you will be leaving your offices late. So the spouses kidogo mtatuvumilia. Hawa watu pengine itabidi walale ofisini for the next couple of months until we have our plan in place.
President Ruto pledged to wholesomely support the sworn-in cabinet secretaries in dispensing their duties to their various dockets. He called on them to be committed to the service of the citizens who elected in the current government.
To you and your families, my congratulations, and I will support you in every way that I can. We will pray together so that God can help us to deliver on the agenda that we have.
Ruto further affirmed that the cabinet should use the constitution that they swore into as the guiding principle in discharging their duties. He strongly shunned the regionalism and favoritism that may arise from the nominated cabinet, calling on them to serve the people of Kenya equally without any form of bias.
I haven't appointed any cabinet for any region or for any county or for any community. I have appointed a cabinet of Kenya. I expect you to respect your oath of office and serve all Kenyans equally.
It is a day that has witnessed the Kenya Kwanza cabinet secretaries taking oath of office to serve in different dockets. Now, as the president has reiterated, he has affirmed that these cabinet secretaries shall serve diligently in his government to deliver the mandate of the Kenya Kwanza government to the electorates of Kenya. Omondi Otieno, KUTV from State House, Nairobi.
Thank you, Mondi, for that report. Now, President William Ruto has today presided over the swearing-in of the 21 cabinet secretaries at State House, Nairobi. This comes as the cabinet secretaries underwent the vetting process in Parliament before they were approved to head various ministries. However, some of them are facing graft charges in court, casting down a thought in the integrity in line with Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Our reporter Shadrach Simiu spills on the bro raising concerns.
Immediately after President William Ruto announced his cabinet and presented the names in Parliament for vetting, two names stood out among the nominees about their suitability for the appointments. Former Malindi Member of Parliament Aisha Juma and former Meru Senator Mithika Linturi were on the spotlight as the Azimio MPs opposed the appointment, citing they have integrity issues. Juma, who is the CS for Public Service, Gender and Affirmative Action, is facing two cases at the Mombasa Law Court, together with her then bodyguard Geoffrey Okuta. Juma is charged in the murder of Gumbao Jola in case that emerged during a by-election in Ganda Ward in 2019. She denied the charges and she is out on bail. However, the case was withdrawn later by the accuser. She is also facing a 19 million graft charge in the alleged embezzlement of Malindi Constituency Fund for construction of a sub-county education block. Hearing of the case was adjourned until November to allow her to vie for Kilifi gubernatorial seat. Linturi, on the other hand, has an active case in court. He is facing an account of attempted rape in an Anyuki hotel on 30th of January 2021. However, he denied the charges, claiming the sexual assault case was intended to make him drop the complaints he had filed against the woman who had accused him of attempted rape. The case was also withdrawn later by the accuser. The appointment for Juma and Linturi were greatly opposed by the Azimio MP, citing that it's against Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Shadrach Simiu, KUTV.
President William Samoei Arap Ruto has today convened the third Kenya Kwanza Parliamentary Group meeting to streamline his legislative agenda in the National Assembly. The MPs are also reported to have deliberated on membership of key House committees. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was also in attendance at State House for the meeting.
President Ruto's busy schedule afforded some space for an all-important parliamentary group meeting with MPs supporting his agenda and who will be critical in delivering the Kenya Kwanza plan. Many proposals in the Kenya Kwanza manifesto will require parliamentary approval in one way or another, with the MPs bestowed upon the power to accept or reject in totality or amend President's proposals transmitted to the Assembly. A case in hand is the 50 billion Hustler Fund, which will need approval of a majority of MPs in order to be effected. The new cabinet secretaries are also expected to appear before MPs on a need basis, and a cordial relationship with them will come handy. In addition, Parliament plays a pivotal role in the budgeting process. Another agenda item during the meeting was the composition of key House committees. The 13th Parliament has 34 departmental, select and finance-related committees which will vet nominees for permanent secretary positions. The Azimio-controlled opposition is already poking holes on the President's positions both outside and within Parliament. Currently, there are about 180 MPs who are in support of government business in the House, most from 9 Kenya Kwanza parties, while others are independents. Ruto's UDA dominates with 145 MPs. Dennis Omondi,
is
KUTV.
brought to you by the Parliamentary.
Now, elsewhere, the Young Women Christian Association Kenya hosted a workshop in Nairobi that brought together Kenyan youth, women, and marginalized communities. Now, the main aim of the workshop was to ensure that there is a participation among them in the post-climate dialogue process.
The Young Women Christian Association put up a workshop in Nairobi that aimed at deconstructing the conclusions of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change on the 26th Conference of Parties, while emphasizing their relevance and importance to Kenyan youth, women, and marginalized groups. The leaders urged parties that the Coronavia Joint Work on Agriculture should address agriculture's vulnerabilities to climate change, reduce food insecurity, and eradicate poverty among communities whose livelihood rely on agriculture, all while reducing greenhouse gas emissions that do not put a strain on trade in technology. This comes as the national government has been consistent in their trials to mitigate the climate issue in the country. It implemented the National Climate Change Action Plan, which is a 5-year plan that helps Kenya adapt to climate change and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. For KUTV, I am Teresia Maluki.
Now, a family in Wetaide village in Kiambu County is allegedly receiving threats from an unknown rich land grabber who wants to take their land away from them. The victims are crying out to the Ministry of Lands to intervene and solve the issue and save them from the risk of execution or displacement.
Land grabbing has been an issue that has affected many, and according to a family in Wetavia in Kiambu County, they have of late received threats from an unknown person who has allegedly been using national security officers to threaten them. Patrick Mumo, the owner of the land, has been forced to hide for now 7 days as he fears for his life.
Kuanzia mwaka wa 1978 yeye ndiye alikata hii shamba akalipia kila kitu. Kwa hivyo kila kitu ni yake na jina lake na nikalikubali. Mimi nikaenda kwa wakili wake na wangu tukaadikia nikamlipia shilingi 1400. Baada ya hayo nikaanza kusikia mimi nahangaishwa na DCI wa hapa Thika wakisema kwamba nimeiba ploti za watu.
According to a statement from Patrick, they have been living with fears with goons hunting them, the latest incident being demolishing of their main entrance to their homestead. Mumo has explained that he bought the land 7 years ago and also produced title deeds to ascertain that the land is his.
Malinunua hewa ni juu yake, yeye aende kule, mimi niitwe ofisini. Wakasema hapana, tunakulazimisha ulete kila kitu. Nikamwambia mimi sileti kitu, nimepeleka kwa wakili. Nikamuita aliyeniuzia, akaenda kwao, wakamfukuza. Wakamwambia tunataka tu huyu Patrick. Wananitaka Patrick nini? Sasa wananengesha niko mafishoni jameni. Niko mafishoni kwa muda siku 7.
Mumo's wife revealed that the goons have frequently tormented them, making rounds in a probox vehicle to intimidate the family.
Hapa mimi niko na miaka 3 tangu nikuje hapa ninunue hii ploti na hakuna na shida yoyote. Nikanunua hii ploti ya kwanza, nikanunua hii bili ya kwanza. Lakini sasa juzi ndio hawa wanakuja wakubwa kusema ati mimi hii shamba ni ya wenyewe.
Mr. Mumo is now pledging the Ministry of Lands and the Director of Criminal Investigation to quickly intervene to prevent him from losing his piece of land to an unknown person who has threatened to take his life if he resists. Reporting for KUTV, I'm Edward Nyamu.
Well, we do hope the relevant authorities do address that matter, and that story brings us to our first pick right here on KUTV Prime Time News. Stay tuned. In a moment, you're about to join us in our day's discussion.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College is focused on being the leading technical and vocational training institute in the region. Our team possesses in-depth knowledge and extensive experience in the industry, offering thorough training in cosmetology, hairdressing, interior design, creative arts, training of trainers, nail technology, and fashion design. With branches in Nairobi, Thika, Meru, Eldoret, and now in Mombasa, our courses ensure that learners are completely equipped with knowledge, competency, and employability skills. Enroll today to be a part of a center of excellence.
Unemployment has hit you hard. Your salary is meager. You decide to venture into business, but you're struggling to thrive in it. You would want to reap a big tip on how not to run into losses.
Forget the preachy business blogs, the hyperbolic motivational speeches, and all the roads down desperation.
Hope has come with model stories from small successful entrepreneurs. We tell you these tales weekly on The Budding Entrepreneur. Join us as we help you make your trade profitable and often smile to the bank.
So now, our platform has been made in such a way that it's very, very simple to use. Our interface is very simple to use. If you need to make a call, it's just a simple call button and the call goes. If you need to receive a call, it's just a simple answer button and you're able to answer. So we've made the solution in such a way that it's easy enough for even myself to explain to my grandma back at home. So that is one of the things that we fully focus on. Ideally, one of the biggest reasons why we actually decided to build this in Africa is because of support services. So even before we let you start using the software, we have a short implementation period where we help you do the customizations.
Kuna different types of gardens. Ule ambaye ako na compound kadogo, ule ambaye ako kwa balcony, ule ambaye ako hata na ukuta, ama uko na mti kwa boma lako. Hiyo mti unaweza ukaweka mboga kando kando yake mpaka ikafuata mti mpaka juu na ukaweza ukapata mboga zako za kutosha.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
But folks, I'm going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
People pass vuguvugu. People pass ni idea.
Sazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, ndio inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni Duniani Leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
University. This is all what I've heard about campus. Campus is full of freedom.
Ni cumulative.
Mchezo hiyo ili kutoka gani kwani?
Student and I mostly hang out at shopping center. I'm an arboretum, and what I'd tell first years is it's never too late to start being serious.
In Kenya today, we have famine, we have drought, the most severe in 40 years, confirming that we are already suffering the effects of climate change. We must do our bit as a nation. We have made the policy decision that we must plant 5 billion trees. Every Kenyan, 50 million of us, must plant at least 100 trees.
And that is our news by today, bringing us to matters climate change. That was the President William Ruto there during the opening of Tiba Dam, as he called upon Kenyans to ensure they do play a part in addressing the matters of climate change. Now, we are currently facing drought in various regions of the country, with at least 4.5 million people dogged by starvation. With such statistics, it is understandable for one to think that a slack response to calls to mitigate climate change may be eating at us. To ponder this, I'm joined by Jeremy Munene, Research Associate for the Transforming Universities for Changing Climate Change Research Project here in the Kenyatta University, and also an environmental scientist, to be able to discuss on these matters of climate change and to try and link the two between climate change and the drought situation currently being witnessed in the country. Welcome so much, Jeremy.
Thank you, Emmanuel, for having me tonight and give me this opportunity to expound more on issues of climate change and the current situation that we are facing as a country, that is drought.
And Jeremy, last time we were actually able to interact, we were talking about the Green Education Day, where we were calling on youth to actually play a part in climate change. Tell me about the Green Education Hub so far. How are things coming along?
So far, so good. We have been able now to go out to work with other universities. We were able to hold our second Green Education Day at Kemu University, where we engage the students on matters of climate action and environmental protection. Now rolling out the activities of advocacy and issues of documenting local cases of climate change to our communities. And so by bringing other institutions of higher learning to these activities of the Green Education Day, we are able now to build momentum of creating a more enhanced and a collaborative effort from youth and also university students across Kenya.
Yes, that's very well taken, and also it's nice to know that you've been up and about trying to spread the message. Now, Jeremy, looking at the current drought situation in the country, is this an I told you so moment that we're having a drought, and at a moment where we have been actually be talking about climate change mitigation, and for a moment it's like, I told you so? You as a campaigner, you on that verge of telling us, I told you so?
Yeah, that's true. Science has always been right. We have been always saying that the issues of climate change are increasing, and that is the challenges. They are becoming more intensive, but people were not listening to us. So this is now the chance that the global community has begun to realize that it is true that scientists did not lie, and the data from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that is the IPCC, was correct, that we will start now to experience more extreme weather condition and erratic climatic condition.
Now, Jeremy, let me break you a bit. We've had a drought since biblical times.
Yeah.
What is different concerning the situation now and previous situations?
Okay, to answer your question, it's true we have drought, and there are various types of drought. One is meteorological drought. This is characterized by reduced rainfall events, and two, we have hydrological drought. This is characterized by reduced water in our rivers, in our lakes. So the occurrence of climate challenges at our time that is brought forth by global warming is now making areas across the country and the region to experience reduced rainfall, and also to ensure that we face a higher rate of evapotranspiration, which is leading to loss of water in our soils or decreased water volume in our lakes or in our rivers. So climate change is only aggravating the drought that we have been facing before. That is meteorological drought and hydrological drought.
And Jeremy, in your view, how can we be able to develop maybe a way that we can have an effective public awareness and engagement strategy?
Okay, as a scientist that is involved in climate action, the best role or the best move towards climate action is education. So education, we are able to go to the community, raise awareness, so that before we implement an initiative, people will now realize that I'm doing this initiative to come back to what or to do what. So advocacy, awareness, just like the Green Education Hub is doing, talking to the student, and when we inform the student, the information that they get on climate change is likely to cascade down to the communities. So you have to conduct a lot of civic education and awareness on climate change now, and that now creates the people to have environmental attitudes that they are motivated to take care of the environment and engage more in climate action.
Now, Jeremy, you are a leader by yourself, and today we are actually having various CSs swearing in to take office. Now, let me put you in a hypothetical situation. Supposing you are the CS, let's say, for environment, and also in a bit also combined with agriculture. Now, how would you address matters currently as they are affecting the country? In your own perception, how would you work towards ensuring like you try and reduce the whole climate situation in a way that actually works to alleviate the drought situation?
Emmanuel, that's a very good question and a tough one, but there are short-term and long-term solutions that you can implement to reduce the effect. And I'll start by stating that we need climate financing, and we have seen the government and the president calling for people to talk about climate financing at the COP27. What is climate financing? This is whereby countries in the global south, we are telling the developed nation or institutions that are well equipped with financial resources and other resources to help us as the global south, because our contribution to climate change is quite negligible. We don't emit a lot of carbon or methane, and so when they fund us, we can be able to implement projects that can help communities to cope with these extremes of weather, climate change. And the other thing is the issue of afforestation and the reforestation of graded lands. People may view it as a very simple task or something that, it's tree planting. People are always engaged in tree planting. But you have seen actually government, and we have also seen the current government trying to tell communities that you have to go out there and increase our national tree cover. And the benefit of this is that it's to create a microclimate and reduce our carbon concentration in the atmosphere. So the other thing is that you have to go to the communities and talk to them to embrace these drought-resistant crops. We have crops, the indigenous one. We have millet, we have sorghum, we have cassava. These are crops that can cope with these dry conditions that are facing most of the part of the country, you see. So these are some of the steps. If God willing, I will find myself there, I will go out and advocate for them.
It's good that you have actually aware about it, and also the matters that you've actually opened up to have brought several things to my mind. And now concerning the whole planting tree situation, it's something that we actually, if you're looking at it as it is right now, it's like we are cutting more to urbanize areas. If you were to look at most urban areas, even in Nairobi, finding a tree is something that is not really, you would be lucky to actually find a tree. We're actually losing a lot even on the water table. I'm going to ask you this. Is this the only possible route, rather planting trees, that would be able to make a change for us? And is it that our disregard for the importance of ensuring these trees are planted, they grow to maturity, that has brought us to the situation we are in right now?
I don't think that even afforestation, we should also be looking too much on afforestation. We can try to create an equilibrium between the development and the environmental conservation and the social dimension of our society. In this sense that if we want to urbanize, there are green ways to do it. This is by trying to ensure that as we construct our infrastructures, we have less ecological footprint. In this sense that you cut down vegetation that only need to be cleared for you to set up a building or an infrastructure. And this we are doing quite well because we have the environmental impact assessment that we write and you submit to NEMA for them to review. So when you try to bring development issues that are sustainable that focus on sustainable development goals and trying to balance between development and protection, then there is even no need of advocating too much on afforestation. It's for us to change our lifestyles and embrace this green development, as I may put it. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, this is a queer question, but on the flip side, does the drought situation in a way work for climate change? Because many lands are not used, the degraded lands, when the whole drought situation is happening. Does it, on the flip side, like even work for climate change that we're actually experiencing a drought?
I don't think so, because most of the climate change challenges we are facing, like global warming, which is now causing the challenges of drought, is mainly due to human-induced activities. These include the industrialization, deforestation, you see. So the land as it is, you know, even an arid and semi-arid area is an ecosystem on its own. You see, it has its own way of supporting live animals adapted and thrive in such areas. So areas that are barren or do not have vegetation cover, we can't say they are contributing. But what we are trying to say is that we can transform these areas by now trying to increase our national tree cover, you see. So it's about some of the negative human activities that we do that is harming our environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, Jeremy, yeah. I believe you may be a young man, yes, but over the years, even as you grew up as a small boy coming up to where you are right now, you've always had, on a moment, like a seasonal moment of there is drought, there is famine, there is drought, there is famine over the ages. And looking at this situation, it's like it's a repetitive thing. It's something that is coming continuously, something that is expected. Now, looking at the fact that now, as a youth, you are a campaigner for climate change. Now, how can we ensure, as the youth, that we do not now find ourselves in a situation that is on this very same course? How can we make differences happen right now to ensure, like, even in future generations, they can be able to find a moment to actually be proud that the ones who preceded them actually did something to try and make sure they do not experience what they experienced? Because it's not a novel matter to see the impacts of drought in Turkana, in Garissa, in the northern counties. It's something that is worrying, and even right now it's growing even into the suburbs, because even in Nairobi people are starving.
So to respond to that, Emmanuel, I would say that we as the youth, individually, we have things that we can do, and also collectively. Individually, in this sense, we can try to embrace some of the lifestyle, sustainable lifestyle practices. In this sense, we shift to try to circular economy. This means that we reduce our waste generation. You can do it as yourself, become a model either to your community or among your peers by either collecting waste within your locality and trying to show people that you actually waste is something valuable or a product to create something. I've seen a lot of student club here in Kenyatta University going around collecting plastic bottles and trying to make decoration out of it. Then as a youth in general, now they can try and form groups, and this group may either be community-based organization or any other group that can go to the community and try to inform them that climate change is real, and we need now to either embrace organic farming. You see, organic farming, by the way, it's very helpful in reducing the emission of methane, which is now causing global warming. So when you talk to the community and shed more light on some of the activities that we can embrace, then it's a step towards the involvement of youth in climate action.
And Jeremy, let me ask you this. Is it that we are numb, or did we require to be shocked by the fact of the drought coming so much into the country for us to actually respond? Because even the late Wangari Maathai was out there trying to campaign, trying to tell people, do the hummingbird move, do something. And still to this moment, we are experiencing conditions that somehow we are still the ones who made them. Is it that we are numb to the situation?
I don't really think so. As I began, I told you that we have been warned, or as the scientists, we have always warned the communities, the government, that these challenges will become more severe. And now, before people used to say that scientists, they are just making some false information about what will happen in the future. But you can see now there is a lot of changes in our locality. There have been a lot of heat waves now. The drought now is becoming more severe. Actually, there are parts here in Kenya that have gone over that have experienced 4 field rainy seasons, others 3. Now you can see these are some of the things that now the community is coming to realize that the data that the scientists give us is real. Yes.
So I guess the message has been received this time around.
Yeah, it has been received, and we hope that now people will come together and we collaborate in making this world a livable place. As we always say, we have only one planet, and we must now ensure that we embrace sustainable development.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And as we finalize, Jeremy, I'm going to ask you something concerning trend, something that is actually coming up right now. The recent lifting of the ban on GMOs. Well, it has been termed that genetically modified crops can help reduce agricultural greenhouse gas emissions. What are your thoughts on this as a climate change campaign?
A tough question again, Emmanuel, but I think you see, the increase of vegetation cover is a blessing for us generally as a planet, because once you cover these regions with a lot of vegetation, you are now able to address issues of global warming. You are able to create that microclimate where the information and the areas you can now receive grains that can help to support food system, that can help us to have clean and clean supply of clean water. So, in my view, it's a good move that we are now trying to increase our forest cover either by natural or either by GMO. It's something that we cannot turn away from. I ask you that question as a scientist because I'm sure scientists don't like how they find from the ultimately. It's true. So it's a good move, but we can't complain because we have always advocated for increase of the vegetation cover, and we know the effect of barren land. Yeah, it exposes our land to the least extreme condition of drought. The water is the rate of evaporation is making water stored in these wells to dry quickly and now contribute to extreme drought condition, and also try to to accelerate the certification that is also encroaching areas that were regarded as islands or areas with high rainfall. Yeah. Thank you very much, Jeremy, for your time. And as you, as a finalize this discussion tonight, apart from being an environmental scientist, my friend, you are a campaigner for climate change. So maybe you can have a final moment to make your campaign more obvious. My plea is for the youth now to go out there and participate in raising climate awareness in our communities. We have had the opportunity now for the higher education to be involved in this course, and like the Green Education Day, the Green Education Hub here at Kenyatta University is encouraging youth to go and create the teaching and learning materials by documenting local cases in their community, so that we can have resources that document what's happening in our community, so that institution of higher learning or any other learning institution in Kenya can have resources that touch on what's happening really here in Kenya, so that we don't rely on materials from other parts of the country. So go out, raise awareness on climate change, develop teaching and learning materials, and also get involved in online campaigns, because now most of the campaigns on climate action are taking place on either on Twitter, either and on other social media platforms. So go out there, raise awareness, and I think now that the people are listening to us, this is a great opportunity to bring everyone on board to address matters of climate change and environmental sustainability. Okay, thank you very much, Jeremy Monene, and environmental scientist. I am passionate about matters of climate change and trying to make a difference in this country, in the world. I hope actually to be able to see you attending courses, because it will be quite refreshing to see you on the other side. At this moment, we take our break right here on KUTV. We will be back in a moment with more reports regarding the day.
Kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico. Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na uasi wa ADF.
la michezo tunafungua sanduku la dukuduku kufahamu zaidi. Kila dadadani. Mitimpo. Tuko na harakati zetu gani? Sisi ni wapenda. Kukutaka ya nyanjani. Hivi kuangaziwa zaidi ya micharazo michezoni. Mimi mwanafunzi wako Matata pia kujizoa na kuona jopo lenye maarifa tukufu. Nikufahamishe na nikuburudishe wewe shabiki shakiki, hakiki na kidakida.
Numaliza. Hebu niswitch account ikuje kwa yangu. Unafanya aje?
Bado jina post. Wacha ibadilishe kutoka kwa story.
Alright, welcome back to the KU Time media. We appreciate your valued company. Now, Murang'a County Government new county executive committee members were sworn in and given their respective positions at the Murang'a County Assembly. 7 men, 3 women made up the 10-member squad that took an oath under the direction of Chief Magistrate Peter Ndiga.
Governor Emmanuel during the swearing-in of the Murang'a CECs noted that the new team arrived at a time when his administration had planned a number of projects that needed to be completed by the end of the year. Since there are many assignments ahead of them, he tasked the new staff with taking on the burden with determination. Kalata emphasized that although the county administration had already started serving the residents of Murang'a, much of the CECs in place. Provision of porridge for ECDE schools, a program that was introduced a week ago, was one of the projects the governor listed as needing to be put into action right away.
I want to say that was a major sacrifice you did at a certain point in your life. This is also another major sacrifice you are doing by sacrificing your major careers to come and serve the people of Murang'a despite the pay cut. Thank you and congratulations.
The new CECs include James Gatuna, responsible for ICT and public administration, Mary Magochi, water, Noah Gachucha, the youth, Faith Njoroge, education, Dr. Kamau Kiringai, agriculture, Kimani Mugo, trade, Dr. Winfred Njeri, lands, Professor Kiari Mwaura, finance, and Dr. Frederick Mbugwa, health.
You work very closely with the MCAs. Please help us as the MCAs to deliver our manifestos. Number 2, when they request that maybe you appear in their various committees, please appear.
In order to ensure that Murang'a receives better services, Mukuha urged the CECs to collaborate closely with the Assembly while formulating laws and policies. For KUTV, I am Susan Wayaki.
Thank you for that. Management and Council of Governors have entered into a memorandum of understanding to establish a formal working relationship to promote human resource management practices in the counties. Take a look at this. And away from bettering the HR situation in the counties, now we shift into the business world and get a glimpse of what has been playing out this week in business.
We kick off with a connective beat where mobile service provider Safaricom has rolled out 5G networks in 5 counties in the country, enabling customers to access faster internet speeds. The telco has unveiled networks in Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisii, Kakamega and Kisumu. iPhone users unfortunately will have to wait until December to access Safaricom's 5G network, as the current devices do not support connectivity. And finally, earlier this week, President William Ruto announced plans to exempt first-time home buyers from paying stamp duty in a bid to ease house ownership costs. The elimination of the levy, which is charged on the market value of the property at the rate of 4% in towns and 2% in rural areas, is one way aimed at helping ease the cost of house ownership.
All right, sharp dive into the sporting arena where Kenya 7th boss Damian McGrath has announced the squad that will take part in the opening leg of the 2022-2023 Rugby Sevens World Cup Series campaign next week in Hong Kong, with George Oro and Dennis Abukuse in line for their debuts. The duo were standouts for their respective clubs during the season's National Sevens circuit and have been included in the 13-man team headed to the Far East tournament. Shujaa are expected to face Ireland in their opening Pool D encounter November 4th before facing Argentina and Canada on the 5th. And Mathare women's striker Judith Atieno yesterday joined the growing list of Kenyan players ditching the local leagues for the clubs in neighboring countries. The former Mathare star proved potential by netting 13 goals out of 11 league matches she had played in last season. Atieno now becomes the first female Kenyan footballer to play professional football in Rwanda upon signing a one-year contract with the Nyamirambo-based side Rayon Sports. Round of the UEFA Champions League fixtures continued yesterday across different nations, where host Ajax lost 3-0 to Liverpool, therefore dropping to the Europa League. In another match, FC Barcelona Champions League journey was brought